donated because there's always going to be a place for us to broadcast and talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. I don't know if you noticed or not, but on the screen there's some information about if you like what we are doing, if you like the platform, if you like the fact that we every week are bringing you content and politicians from across the state, please consider donating to this effort. For the most part, this has been a solo adventure of love. I ain't tripping, but let's make it better. There are lots of things that we could do to make this show better, like, improve the aesthetics and things of that nature. This is your show. This is being done for you. So if you find it in your heart and you like what we're doing at Turn Left and the content we're bringing you, that we're bringing you in our third season, mind you, on our third year of bringing you quality candidates from across the state, please consider donating. The link is on in the Facebook message information, plus it's right there. Donate. Yep, I'll be asking y'all every week for some money. You already know. I'm a politician. That's what we do. We ask for money. Normally I talk about a lot of legislation that's been going on and some of the things that are happening around the state. But today I want to talk to my family. I want to talk to family for just a minute. And I want to talk to the Democrats. I want to talk to county party officials and people who have been appointed by precinct committee people to represent different counties. Lately, since the primary, I have been seeing in multiple places where there's questions about who the leadership is in these counties and some of the decisions they're making. First of all, humans, we don't have to recognize that there's nothing that humans have their hands in that is going to be perfect. Because there's no such thing as a perfect human. So there are going to be some flaws in our party. There are going to be people who make decisions that you may not like. There are going to be things that you find distasteful. I suggest that we do better in how we express ourselves and how we deal with each other, because just lashing out is what children do. Lashing out is what 45 does when he says, if you don't stop the investigations, you get no infrastructure. That's what petulant people do. I want everyone to look inside themselves and find respect for all the differences that makes up our big tent. It's not easy. It's not easy to, somebody is supposed to be on your side, but you can't see eye to eye. I get it. I've been married. I understand how that works. But party, family, we have got to do better. If there are real problems that we need to contend with within our organizations at a county level, at a district level, or at a state level, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we improve, because we don't want people to turn away from us. We need people to join us. And if we're conducting our business in such a way publicly that is distasteful, that people don't like, they will turn away from us. There are a lot of issues that I don't chime in on Facebook, where I have strong opinions about them. But all the time, I don't need to share my opinion about every situation. Don't nobody care anyway. Does anybody really care? Opinions are like buttholes. We all got one. So, to my party, the party that I love, to Democrats, whether you're a blue dog, a liberal, a progressive, I don't care what you call yourself. If you are left of center and you call yourself a Democrat, let's find new and unique and exciting ways to work together instead of trying to tear each other apart. There are processes in place. If you find yourself not happy with your leadership, go through the process. Don't put it, listen, it happens everywhere. You're talking about humans. Humans aren't perfect. They don't do everything the right way. Let's find it. And I'm not talking about just one county. I've seen about 4 or 5 different counties, 6 counties lately, where there's been issues. And they want the state party to fix it, but if the state party comes in and puts the hand on it, then they're being heavy-handed. So the state party stays out of those county dust-ups. But if you need help, if you need negotiators, you know where to find me. In fact, I got the right there. I'm easy to find. You can get all that information up there. Let's talk about it. I will come to your county, and we can have whatever discussion you need to have to continue to bring people in. We don't want to push people away. We want to bring them in. And there's ways for us to conduct ourselves. Trust me, I'm a dreadlock African lesbian who wears ties. Don't you think I get angry every day? But there's ways for us to handle our business, Democrats. So we got to do better. I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody else is. But let's find a way to use that energy for positive. All right, y'all. Indiana's on in the right, turn left, donate. I'm gonna say that every 15 minutes now. I'm loving it. So this week is very unique. We have two young men who are running in districts that are right now being held by Republicans. These are the type of candidates that we need to help. These are the candidates that we need to rally behind so we can what? Flip those seats, baby. That's what we are. First of all, I got my man, my cohort. We was rookies in the game together. What? In 2016. And when things didn't quite work out for him with the party, he didn't go sulking. He didn't go on a Twitter rant. He didn't go on a Facebook rant talking about what somebody did and what somebody didn't do. He put his head down and he went right back to work because he recognized the work that he was trying to do was to improve lives, not just his. Y'all give it up to my man, Keith Potts, who is running for City County Council. What's that district?
District 2.
District 2, up in the Sobro area.
It's Broad Ripple all the way up to 96th Street.
Welcome to Turn Left, sir.
Thanks for having me, Dana.
All right, Michael, I'm gonna mess up because I already know your last name. Okay, I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna see if I can figure it out. Second, I had a chance to meet this fine young man when I was down at the Columbus Pride. You never know where you'll meet the next person that's gonna be on the show, that's for sure. And he was down there mixing it up with the people. I'm telling you, anybody that wants to support Pride, they're a friend of mine, right? Y'all give it up for Michael Schoumacher.
Very close.
Oh, well, say it for me.
Schoumacher.
Schoumacher. Woo. I would have never got that right. What district are you running in, sir?
I'm running in District 4.
District 4. District 2, District 4, we keep it even. That's what's happening. That's what happens. Those are election and governor years. Those are the even years. So welcome to Turn Left, guys. First of all, Keith, you're not really relatively new, so I'm going to start with Michael first. Michael, you're kind of new to the game.
Yeah.
Tell people who you are and where you come from.
Well, thanks for having me tonight, Dana, and thanks for bringing me in here with Keith, and always exciting to meet the next generation of party leadership over here.
Yeah.
So, so I've been living in Indiana my whole adult life, but I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And came to Rose Holman over in Terre Haute, Indiana.
You like some blues, do you?
Yeah, as I've met more and more people throughout my life, one thing people know about Tennessee is that Elvis lived in Memphis, and that's.
See, for me, it was
doesn't matter
always
where you come from.
Yeah, it was always about blues and stacks, baby. Stacks. That's where that soul came from.
For me, it's about the barbecue.
All right. Keep it there. Where are we eating?
Yeah.
I love it.
When I go home, I got my spots, you know.
That's what's up.
So I got my mechanical engineering degree from Rose Holman. Went to work met my wife there. Went to work for Cummins down in Columbus, and now I've got my MBA from IU. And I'm a family guy. I've got a 2-year-old. She just turned 2 May 1st.
So get down.
Yeah.
Like, don't be like Beto and go out on a sabbatical, leaving the wife home alone with the kid talking about, I need some time.
Yeah, I feel a little guilty. Days like today, I left for work before she was up. I'm gonna get home after she's in bed. I feel a little guilty about it, but I feel strongly that the people like me with young kids, we can't just let the empty nesters and the retirees, do all the hard work and run our local and state governments. We got to get out there. We got to have our seat at the table, and we got to make our voices heard. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
So was there something in your youth that led you to believe that one day that you would be in politics? Did you have any kind of special interest in politics?
There's always, you get those dreams, right? People, voting for you, exciting times. So I'm excited about it. But I got my start in politics stumping for Barack Obama.
Wow, okay.
That's my man. And so I was canvassing for him for his primary when I still lived down in Memphis.
Oh wow, okay.
So, before I was old enough to vote, I was canvassing for Barack Obama.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
And was there a particular issue, or was it just his energy? He's a special kind of dude. So was it something that resonated with you?
I don't know if you can put a word to it. I mean,
Right.
I think he's the best politician that we'll see in our lifetimes. He just connected with so many people and just sort of captured the imagination and the hearts and minds of, you know, he was fantastic. What can you say?
What can you say? All right, my man, KP in the house. Y'all don't understand. I do have a very, very special love for this man because y'all don't know what he's been through. Y'all don't know his story. And I've kind of witnessed it. And you know, again, I don't always comment on everything, but I've always praised his resiliency. I do it in public. I do it behind closed doors. Y'all, Keith, tell people who you are, where you come from.
Well, thanks, Dana, so much for having me, and good to be with you here, Mike. My name is Keith Potts, and I'm running for the Indianapolis City County Council District 2, which is Broad Ripple. It goes as far south as 54th Street, as far north as all the way to 96th Street, our county border, and we go from Ditch Road to River Road.
Oh, wow.
So it's a pretty big district. But as far as I go, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs,
Okay.
a town just west of downtown Chicago called Elmhurst.
Okay,
I
I've heard of it, yeah.
grew up in a working class home. I grew up across the street from my grandparents. My grandfather was a World War II veteran turned lifelong UAW union worker working in a GM plant through his retirement. My grandmother helped to take care of me while my parents were working to provide for me and my siblings. I work in the performing arts.
Yes.
And yes, the theater. I teach after school music and theater classes for kids.
Okay.
With a local not-for-profit arts organization, and do other sorts of things, playing piano, working in shows, singing, performing my cello, all sorts of good stuff like that.
An artsy kind of fellow.
Yeah, and when I came to Indianapolis, when I first got here, that's when I met my husband, Brian.
I was gonna get to that. You know, I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just so many LGBTQ folk running for office. I ain't doing it. It's like we just out here doing it. But anyway,
So I came out here for a job, and that's when I met my husband. And as I stayed here, moved here, and continued to be involved, I just was seeing in the neighborhoods there was sometimes development, growth, investment of resources happening in some parts of town, but it wasn't always happening in all parts of the community.
Okay.
And I decided, you know, the experiences that I have, like I know what it's like to scrape change together to pay rent for my apartment. I know the sense of pride that I got when my husband and I made our first mortgage payment together. And in working with these students after school, I know what so many families want. They just want what's best for their families, what's best for their children. And so I thought maybe it's my time to, it's the right thing to step up and try and take on that leadership role that I think this district really needs.
Absolutely. And so the great thing is that, like I said, we met in 2016. I was running against the Speaker of the House, and you were running for a state Senate seat, and that's how we got to know each other. And we would be at the same events all the time. And I was like, this dude is working hard. I better work harder. And literally, I was, you know, you see, like J.D. Ford set the standard. It was like, if you're not really sure how to be a candidate, check out J.D. Ford. You know, if you're not really sure, and I was, you know, I watched him like, oh, if Keith's there, I'm there. And you lean on each other and trust in each other. And I just want to touch on something real quick. As you heard my opening rant, sometimes things don't go the way you want them to go. Tell me how you were able to get past the 2016 disappointment, and go as much as you want or as little as you want into it. You know, tell me about resiliency.
It wasn't about me. It was about wanting to do the work. And if I wasn't going to be doing the work in one way, I'll find another way to do the work. So I got to work for other candidates.
You ran that Hillary office, baby.
Yeah, and I worked full-time as an organizer last year through 2018. And that's what this is about. We want to do good things for our community. We want to make progress. And look, there's only so many seats available for anybody to even run for. So that means not everybody is going to be an elected official. Not everybody is going to be a candidate. And frankly, we need everybody to not be a candidate because we need folks helping us on the ground. We need folks working at being our partners in the not-for-profit sector. We need folks working in all areas of life so that we can just make sure that we're enacting these great policy ideas that we have and improving everything for our communities.
Do y'all hear that?
It's well said.
Do y'all hear that? Sometimes you don't get what you want, but that don't mean you can't do the work that needs to be done. All right, gentlemen, I'm just going to throw some things out there so people can kind of get to know you a little bit. Let's move back down to our state house a little bit. I know you guys are running for council seats. I know this.
Can't help you too much with the state.
There are a lot of things that come out of the state house that impact municipalities.
Yeah.
And coming from a liberal county like Marion County, and a kind of, a purple. I would say, Bartholomew is a little purple depending on where you are.
Compared to the stuff around it.
Compared to the stuff, right.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you, even though you would have, only so much impact, but bully pulpits are important too.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about where you see public education right now and what's going on in our state.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, I'm a child of public education myself, right? I went through public schools down in Memphis. It's incredibly important to me. It's part of why we moved to Columbus, is because of the esteem that Bartholomew County School Corporation is held in. Teachers are some of the hardest working people in America.
Yes, they are, honey.
I mean, I can count on one hand the number of classmates I had from high school that are teachers right now. And that's just not enough.
Right.
And part of that problem is across the country, but especially here in Indiana, they don't get paid enough. And the way our economy is right now, we've got plenty of jobs for people. People can choose what they want to do. And if we're not paying them enough, then why would they choose to be teachers?
Come on.
And so we need to figure that out. We've got to find a way to close that gap. And unfortunately, this state Congress did not get it done this time.
Nope.
And so we got to try again next time.
Well, and so I'm also a child of public schools. My sister and her husband are both public school teachers, unionized public school teachers.
Didn't know that. Did not know that.
Yeah.
Love it.
And so what I think is so important with the issues that come up within our state house, it's how can we be a partner and how can we help to maybe even fill in some gaps with regard to the things that we might not necessarily have legislative purview over, but the things where we can be a help to our community. So while public education budgets don't necessarily fall under the purview of municipalities, of councils in the state of Indiana, what we can do is work directly with our partners in the community to say, what resources do you need? What resources can we get you? So that programs on the weekends, programs during the summer.
Yes.
So that, and these are programs that at the local level we can enact and to an extent have an even bigger impact because we're working in tandem and directly with our partners in the community to provide them what they need specifically for those students. We want the students in our county, in the entire state, to have the best education experience possible. What can we do to make it even better?
It's well said. There's not a lot that we can do inside the classroom from our city council seats, but there's a lot we can do outside the classroom. I know in Bartholomew County right now, over half the students are on free or reduced lunch plans. We've got a lot of kids that they don't know where they're going to sleep every night. And the public school teachers are going to be held accountable for poor results when these kids are, how are you going to pay attention to class when you don't know if you're going to have a warm bed that night? You don't know where your next meal's coming from.
So much the argument that I make all the time.
And so I think there's a lot we can do working with our local nonprofits and trying to figure out what gaps can we help address to help these kids be in the best foot possible that they can stand on when they go to school to pay attention and learn and get the education that we're trying to provide for them. And that's a big part of, I think, any elected official. If we're not helping kids get educated, then what the heck are we doing here?
Oh my God, you guys are freaking. So one of the things that, and I'm glad you brought up the free and reduced lunches because one of the parameters that they used to put the formula together, this funding formula, this thing must have been something a rocket scientist for real came up with, but it shouldn't be that hard. Because somehow or another, like, the private schools, the parochial schools, the charter schools, and the virtual schools are getting more money than, increases than the public schools where 94% of the students actually go. But one of the formulas that they used was to say that, well, we don't have as many students on free and reduced lunches anymore, so they don't need as much funding. These are the things that are coming out of our state house. And I'm glad that you mentioned in Bartholomew County, which, because some people in Indiana think only people of color own food stamps. Bartholomew County is not, although Columbus is diverse because of Cummings, Bartholomew County, it ain't got a lot of, it's just got a few sprinkles on this ice cream. It ain't got a whole chocolate fudge and caramel fudge sundae thing going on.
It's not like Memphis.
It's not like Indy, but see, these are the communities that are now being impacted negatively by these decisions, and they keep voting against their interests. And they literally are saying, oh, there's not as many poor students, so we're gonna cut that kind of funding down. We're gonna reduce that funding. It's scary when you think that a hungry kid is trying to learn algebra or calculus or any of those other classes I didn't take. All right, let's move on. I mean, and my other thing is, I always ask the, last thing on education. I understand that we need to pay teachers, and there's a reason for that, because you get what you pay for. Not saying that we don't have amazing teachers now who are sucking it up and doing what they have to do without getting the necessary pay that they deserve. But I want to know, Republicans, what do you have against the 1+ million public school students who require the best that this industry has to offer? Why are you shortchanging them, the future of our state? What's wrong with you? So when you in a nursing home, old people, because mind you, the cats in the state house now, a lot of them, they in their 50s, 60s now. And the kids are going to be graduating 18 years. You're going to be in assisted living. I know you want them to be able to read the right medication you're supposed to have, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the simple things. Logic. We need to prepare our state for the future, right? If you're a business owner and you're thinking about moving your business somewhere and you're putting down roots and you're thinking for 20 years, why would you come to a state that is not educating its citizenry?
Yeah.
Y'all, all right.
Rising tide lifts all boats.
Absolutely.
We got to rise the tide.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you mentioned virtual schools. I know you're trying to move on, but I got this friend, Sandy Watts, down in Columbus that I talked to about education stuff. She's a retired teacher, and she was pulling. Did you know that virtual schools in the state of Indiana last year awarded 0 credits?
Yeah, I know. They're failing.
Classes.
And the state is giving them money.
And they got more percent raise for that
failing.
result than.
I'm gonna go ahead and just say, come to Black Pearl School, and I ain't gonna have I'm gonna fail so bad I ain't gonna have no students, but watch me get some money. I'm kidding. But you might as well say is that. All right, let's talk about something that's gonna be a little bit closer and near and dear to what you guys do. Infrastructure.
Streets and sidewalks.
Streets and sidewalks and potholes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who started last time. It doesn't matter. Okay. Keith. I think sometimes Indianapolis gets a bad rap on our roads are in bad shape, but I don't think it had anything to do with this current administration. Even when Jim Merritt, not on my watch, you'll never be the mayor of my city. Even when Jim Merritt tries to run his campaigns and talk about how bad the streets are, his Republican city county councilmen were like, yo, Jim, find something else to talk about. You better have another platform. He doesn't, but find another platform. Talk about, some of the ideas that you may have for infrastructure, especially in Marion County that struggles.
So in Marion County, a couple of the challenges that we have, we don't want to be passing the buck and saying, well, it was somebody else's fault that started this problem. But when we've got decades of underfunded road projects, and when we have road formulas from our state house that don't proportionally allocate resources throughout the state, and
starve in Marion County.
Right, Marion County doesn't necessarily get its fair share of those resources. We then have to credit to our council who unanimously supported a $400 million over the next 4-year infrastructure package. $100 million a year. Absolutely.
Wait on Republicans, you'll be hungry.
And what the thing is with these formulas is so many of these road projects are decided months, years in advance, and then they're put into the pipeline of these processes. But it's the area, the sort of difference there is our residents, our constituents. They need to trust that their counselor is going to be an advocate for them.
Absolutely.
And that their counselor is not just going to be an advocate for one part of their district, but rather for their entire district. Every corner of the district, regardless of their personal investments, regardless of what part of the district they live in, we want to be sure that they're advocating for the best interest. If you haven't driven on 91st Street between College and Westfield, then you don't know that that desperately needs it.
I don't know any parts of College right now. I'll do that when they're done.
But so what we need, in terms of our infrastructure, we just need to trust our residents, our constituents need to trust that their counselor, that their elected official is advocating for them, because we have such finite resources. We've made this huge long-term investment, but otherwise we have finite resources with which we can address these issues that folks face every single day. And that's not just potholes, it's sidewalks, it's street lights, it's stoplights, it's road signs, it's all of this.
How about Wi-Fi? How about high-speed internet? All of those things should be included in our infrastructure conversation. And for some reason, we only think roads and bridges, right? We don't talk about waterways. We don't talk about our electrical grid nearly enough for me. I mean, I think it's. I'll be honest. Thank you, Russia, for only hacking voting machines, because if they really knew what kind of bad shape our nation's infrastructure really is, we'd be in trouble. Talk about what you're seeing down in Columbus.
Well, District 4, which is the north part of Columbus, it goes from basically 25th Street all the way north and Central Avenue all the way east. I think we've been in pretty good shape. I've knocked on about 1,100 doors so far this year.
All right,
I'm out there putting in work, but
yes. and you have to. I mean, anybody puts their name on the ballot and go, I'm just going to put my name on the ballot, I really ain't got no time for you, really.
Yeah, so I've been talking to a lot of people, and the roads, I mean, everybody's got potholes here or there. There's always things we can be working on, but we've got some good projects coming to the north part of Columbus that we should be excited about. There's a street called Weston Edge, which goes right to Parkside Elementary, that's getting redone and is going to have sidewalks added. So it's not that we're not doing stuff. I think there's more we could be doing, and I think to Keith's point about the people knowing that their city council person is looking out for them and can trust that they'll be advocating for them for those next projects is an important one, because it's a little bit in the dark of what's going to happen in the few years down the road. I know they have plans, I just don't know what they are.
Right.
And there's other streets that really need it on the north side of town. Fairlawn Avenue that goes to Richards Elementary. There's no sidewalk on that street. I bet you a couple dozen kids would walk to school if there was a sidewalk there. Hopefully they're not walking right now, because it's not safe. It's a busy street.
Right.
There's other walkability to schools. There's a street called Taylor Avenue that's a major thoroughfare, but it's on the wrong side of Taylor Avenue. Those houses are so close to Richards Elementary that they're in the walkability district. So right now, if you're there and you can't drive your kid to school, they've got to walk across this busy street with no crossing guard, no sidewalk, nothing. And so, I mean, how are they supposed to get to school? They're trying to work out special considerations where they can walk to a nearby place that's in the bus range, but basically they have to go the wrong way to get on a bus to go to school. So a lot that we should be doing on the north side of town, and I'm hopeful that it's on its way, but we just can't really see what's going on behind the scenes. And that's why one of the things I want to do is have a monthly conversation where I'm just going to tell everybody in District 4, hey, I'm going to be here for a couple hours, come talk to me. And then I can bring information there and hopefully put some of these things to light, and also take input to say, hey, where's my street on the list, and why isn't it getting priority?
And that's the hard part about council, right? Especially when everybody is trying to secure funding for their district, right? So you guys will be, when you win. Yeah, I said it.
Knock on wood.
When you win, I'm claiming it. We're gonna flip these 2 Republican seats. When you win, you're gonna be the newbie. What are some of the skill sets that you have that will allow you to work with your new Democratic cohorts who've maybe been in their seats for a little while and say, hey, I know I'm new, but And then also, how will you be able to work across the lines? Talk about some of your personality traits that makes that part of the job something that you can do.
Yeah, so, I mean, like I said before, I've got mechanical engineering degree from Rose Solomon, I got an MBA from IU. I've worked in teams with Cummins for my career. I made a career out of finding efficient solutions that are long-term sustainable. And that's the kind of thinking I'm trying to bring to Columbus City Council. And it shouldn't be about, at least at the city council level, hopefully not at any level, should it be about party versus party. It's about people working together to try to make everybody's lives better.
I would go with that, but they keep doing dumb stuff on the other side, and they may say, "No, I wanna be nice to you, but you keep doing dumb shit." I'm sorry. Hate crimes.
We got some things to work on.
I'm a Democrat. Y'all leave me alone.
I am too, but yeah, so I think I'll be interested to hear Keith's answer, but I think at the city council level, hopefully there's more than partisanship. Yeah, more than partisanship there. And I think the people of Columbus really understand that. I mean, like I said, I knock on every door. I go down the street, I knock on every door, and there's some people that I know are lifelong Republicans that understand that at the city council level, at least, it's more about the person than the party, and finding the right person that's going to represent you and listen to you. And I think I can do that, and I can work with these other folks on city council right now. So.
What you got, Keith?
Well, so in order to talk about how you're going to do the job, you got to get it first.
I claimed it. You'll be sworn in January 1st. I'll be asleep, but you'll be sworn in.
Sounds like a good plan. But so when we're knocking on those doors, when we're having those conversations, we're getting evidence. We're getting that exact testimonial that we're going to bring to the council chambers in order to say, no, I talked to 10,000 people over the course of the last however many months, days, weeks, whatever. And you know how many times I heard this being brought up. So we want to make sure, again, it comes back to that advocacy element of being a counselor, being any elected official, frankly, but especially being a counselor when you're one of the smallest forms of government. And your constituents know you.
Yes,
they know you.
They see you when you go out to eat, honey.
Right, they recognize you at Target. They see you when you're out walking the dog in your sweatpants first thing in the morning, for crying out loud. But
so your way out of town to the airport. Oh wait, I'm not elected. Never mind.
But also when it comes to the actual execution of things, when it comes to actually getting things done, as somebody who works in the performing arts, you get told no a lot. Mm-hmm. But if you stopped or slowed down after every no, nothing would ever happen.
That's right.
So anytime that you maybe get some pushback or whatever, it just gives you that much more energy and drive to go even further and to get something accomplished, to get something done. Because if we just get pushed back and stay back, we're not going to be able to do the incredible work that those voters put us there to do in the first place.
That's what's up. Indiana's on Dana Black. Turn left. There's a donate button. I'm be saying that. All right, let's switch the gears a little bit. This is halfway through the show. I'd like to now focus in on your particular campaigns. Both of you have expressed that you've been out knocking doors. Talk about what the people are saying, and then they as campaigns go, you've got those 4 topics that are specific to your campaign. Talk about your specific campaign and what's going on in your district that is impacting what you're doing and the message that you're putting out there. What are the people telling you?
Yeah, so we're talking a lot about infrastructure, as we have just today. We want to make sure that we're improving our infrastructure for the long term, and that that as a counselor, we're advocating for our entire district to get as many of those much needed resources as possible. Additionally, we want to focus on the growth of our local economy, centered around the idea of inclusive growth. We want to be sure that when new companies or corporations or entities are coming into our community, we want to be sure that, as happens frequently, that when they engage with their local government to settle into their spot, we want to be sure that they're in turn contributing back to our community, that they're not just making money from a certain community.
You pay 0 taxes.
We want to be sure that that they're becoming a part of the community, not simply taking advantage of it.
Absolutely.
And additionally, we want to make sure that public safety remains a top priority in District 2 and in Marion County. Whether it's making sure that we're or increasing the amount of police officers who are doing beat policing and really engaging with the communities that they're sworn to serve, or addressing sort of the root causes. Because if we simply address the symptoms of things, the underlying infection might still be there. And
people don't want to deal with poor people.
And that's a bit, my husband being a pharmacist, I a lot of times will put things in medical terms.
Yeah.
So that's, you can't just always address the symptoms, you have to address the underlying cause of things. So we want to make sure that with regard to our public safety, we're addressing those root causes that are causing issues in our community, and making sure that we're having positive outcomes when it comes at the end of the day. And those three things, they're resonating with our community, with the folks that I'm talking to as I'm engaging with our community. Folks are also concerned with things that are happening at the national level, aren't we all?
Yeah, because that's the loudest, that's the shiny object, you know?
But the great thing about working in municipal government is we can take steps locally.
Yeah.
We might not be able to solve the biggest problems in the healthcare industry. We might not be able to solve the challenges that climate change poses. And yet, at the local level, we can take steps that move us a little bit forward and allow us to play our part in addressing those bigger problems.
So you have like a unique situation in your district. You have like part of IPS and part of Washington Township. I actually am a North Central grad. Shout out to my Panthers. That's what's up, Washington Township. What class of '88? You know I gotta do that. But you also have a unique situation where IPS actually closed down Broad Ripple, which was the northernmost IPS school. Now, IPS is still doing its thing, but there's only like 4 IPS schools around the city now. And so when you're talking about bringing in corporations and bringing in businesses, and a lot of times they bring in leadership, where some of the leadership, they'll have families. Gosh, this is pretty heavy. What do we do about not having real local schools? I mean, I understand what IPS is trying to do. They're like, hey, yo, our population is shrinking. I think y'all own one. But they talk about the population shrinking. How, if you were being an ambassador for your community and bringing a business in, how would you even talk about that? That one's, one of the best schools, one of the best high schools IPS had, they shut it down.
It's an institution within the community. I've talked with a lot of folks who talk about the generations of their family who have gone through Broad Ripple High School and the public schools in the area. I went to a community meeting that was probably like a month and a half ago or so, a few weeks ago, that was seeking community input on what they want to see with that property. Ultimately, it's a decision that comes down to IPS. But what I, again, using the word advocate, because that's just what I think is the most important responsibility of an elected official, of a city county councilor in Indianapolis, is listening to the members of our community, listening to our constituents, and advocating for what's in the best interest of the community. That's something that's not going to be a decision made at the council level, but I can advocate with that position.
Yeah, because if you're trying to attract businesses, though, you got to have a place for the families that go to school. So it's like, yo, and one of the things that a lot of people talk about is that they don't even want to live, in an IPS district because it's underfunded. So that's something to contemplate on. You know what I'm saying? It's people want local schools. They want, and I got in Marianne Sullivan and I know she's a very nice lady and she's brilliant in her own way. We kind of disagree on, curriculum and I can never, my head has a hard time, and I'm not an educator. I'm just a girl with a big mouth, right? I have a hard time with the idea that a particular school system offers different types of curriculum in different parts of town. So literally in the more affluent areas of IPS, they have a much more stringent and much more preparatory curriculum versus some of our more distressed areas. That's another conversation. It was just one of those things where, Robert was gone. It was a staple. It was, all right, talk to me. I get on my tangents. I'm sorry. My bad.
That's what we love about it.
Because, you know what? Yeah. I love my city and I love my state so wholeheartedly. I just hate watching people treat it like crap. I really do. What they're doing at the State House, it makes me want to just pull Brian Boston by the ear and say, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm going to treat him like I'm his mama. Michael, talk about what you knocking on doors, you're getting feedback, and then talk about how it's shaping your campaign and what those 3 issues are.
Yeah, so Columbus is a great city, but certainly we're not without our problems as well, both in the short term and the long term. So my 3 things are community, efficiency, and sustainability. And as I talk to people around District 4, what I associate most with community is public safety. We've got an opioid epidemic right now in Columbus, Indiana. And drug addiction even more broadly, right? We know that methamphetamines is still the most common drug overdose that we've got in Columbus, Indiana. So we've got things that the current administration is working on, which are great. We need to continue to turn over every rock to find every idea that we can to try to help these people that are suffering through these hard times in their lives, and try to get them all the help that they need. So community has to do with that. Efficiency. Columbus has a couple big projects going on right now that we're spending millions of dollars on, and people love to talk to me about that. We got a riverfront project, and going back to our infrastructure a little bit. We just bought our mall down there. Malls across America are kind of going downhill. What's happening with them? One of the things that can happen is that the local city can buy it and try to put it to a different use, which is the path that Columbus is taking. But like I said, it costs $5 million. People don't ask about that. But I want to talk more. But I want to talk more about affordable and available housing. Okay. Talk about it. Yeah, because Columbus, it's a good problem to have. We've got more jobs than we've got people. Our unemployment's very low. And one of the reasons we can't get a whole lot of new jobs there is because they understand that the workforce isn't there. There's not enough people. And one of the reasons for that is there's not enough housing at any level. Low income especially, but even at the higher income as well. And so we understand that, and we've been trying to bring new development in. But from what I've seen in the city council meetings that I've attended, one of the ways we kind of do that is sort of throwing tax abatement money at developers that want to put in market rate housing, market rate apartments. And I don't know if that's the right, most efficient way to go about it all the time. Okay. Take a stand, bro. Well, look, if you're putting up market rate apartments, you're going to be charging $1,200, $1,300 a month. In Columbus? Columbus has pretty high cost of living. It's like Bloomington. Bloomington's got a high cost of living. It's higher than Indy. Yeah, well, we've got a real nice town down there. People want to live in it, which is great, and they're willing to pay for it. But, you don't need a whole lot of help from the city with tax abatements to make money off of something that you're putting up 40 units, you're going to be charging $1,200 a month. You're going to do just fine. You're going to be fine. Yeah. I want to give tax abatement money to folks that are going to give us the lower, the income assisted living kinds of spaces where we need, because down the road, Columbus may walk ourselves into a problem where all of our service industry people can't live there. Right. And you just can't afford to live there. And we're already seeing right now where the supply and demand of the housing in Columbus is so out of whack that certain landlords, a lot of them are great, some of them, they understand they don't have much incentive to keep places nice, to keep making improvements, to keep rent, at a reasonable level, because they understand, if you work at Burger King, you don't have a car, you need to walk to work, where else are you going to go? Right. So, right. And then you've got people like, Secretary Ben Carson. I'm gonna be real with y'all. That black man does not need to be in charge of HUD. He could have been like the Surgeon General, because he's a brilliant surgeon. But just to throw a black man in HUD, housing and urban, how that happens. Dumbasses run the thing. Shit. So I'm sorry. So he was on Capitol Hill, and they, part of their budget is to increase, affordable housing costs back onto people who can really ill afford it. Those that are on fixed incomes, those kinds of things.
when legislation comes down like that from the federal level, it really does negatively impact. And here's the killer part, people. There are jobs that you just don't want to do. When you're the executive director of marketing at Cummins, there are jobs you don't want to do and you don't want your kids to do. But somebody's got to do them, because if they're not done, you're gonna be the first one complaining. I went in here and it was not up to standard. You'll be the first one complaining. So why not, as a community, as you're talking about, knowing that we're not going to get a lot of help from the federal level, knowing that we're not going to get a lot of help at the state level, why not use that local mechanism of community that you're talking about and efficiency and things to get involved and address those affordable housing issues? That's everywhere, though. I mean, it's almost like, if I didn't know no better, I would swear people just want more people to be homeless. I mean, and it's really, I know that a lot of times we can get caught up in the racial aspect of our nation, but the biggest dividing line I see is socioeconomic. As long as, and it's really expensive to be poor. I mean, it costs you more to be poor than it does, and nobody wants that. Nobody's trying to have that. But we're not working together to solve those problems. We've lost that. Well, I know why we lost it. Real quick, I'm sorry, real quick. I love hearing the stories of the older gentleman who served in Congress and talked about how there was a time where our families got together and we played together and we were on the opposite sides of the aisle, but we got along so great because we had our kids. Well, that's because it was all white dudes. Now that you've added some Muslims and some black folk and some more women, you don't have as much in common and you're not as willing to connect, so it's easy to stay divided and then blame it on something else. Blame it on something else. And so here you have a situation where, you've got to have all levels of service ability, of employment ability.
It takes all kinds.
All right, keep going. I'm sorry, I jumped off on tangent.
No, this is what you're... I think there's more efficient ways we should be using our incentives to try to bring people in.
You guys got coming down there. Y'all making tax revenue.
Yes, Columbus does well in terms of tax revenue.
I've seen how much they offer some of them jobs.
Those are two of the three, and then the third one's sustainability. Right? We need to have solutions that are going to work in the long term. And we talked a lot about Cummins, and I work for Cummins, and Cummins has been a great partner in Columbus.
Absolutely.
But we need to be thinking about how we protect our city from downturns in the Cummins cycle, from potential disaster. When it comes to the newest Cummins buildings, just announced this week, right? We got the big new Cummins building downtown Indianapolis, which is beautiful. And the next one's going to go in Greenwood, Indiana. So that makes Columbus people nervous because it's been a little while since Cummins built a new building in Columbus, Indiana. And we understand that if something bad were to happen, or if Cummins was going to decide that that's not where they want their headquarters anymore, we've seen this play out in cities across Indiana, right? They're big.
Go up north to steel towns.
Right. That could be Columbus in a hurry if Cummins were to, if something bad were to happen.
So you want to diversify the economy.
We have to.
Okay.
And so when it comes to sustainability and what do we do with all this tax abatement money that we can throw around? We need to be attracting industries that aren't automotive manufacturing and try to buck the trend of Columbus goes as Cummins' cycle goes.
Right.
Because when Cummins has this next downturn, you're going to see Columbus take a hit. You're going to see people get fired. Then you'll see some housing open up.
And that's not how we want it.
That's not how we want it. So, we need to be thinking about how we can bring in some new industry. Like when I watched Mayor Pete, have his announcement, he was talking about what he did for South Bend, bringing in a whole new generation of industries. Right? Columbus needs to try to capture some of that energy.
And with all those engineers hanging out,
we enjoy a very well-educated workforce. We enjoy a lot of great community partners. It should be very attractive to a lot of different industries, and so we just need to find that extra little piece that can bring some of these these other kinds of industries in.
And see, unfortunately, even in Marion County, we still struggle with bringing certain industries into Marion County. We're a little bit more diverse because of our location and proximity to the fact that we can get pretty much to 5 states in an hour and a half, 2 hours, something crazy like that. But the other thing is that Indiana is 48th in the nation in quality of life.
Yeah.
And so at least with Indianapolis, like we have this, this city of 800,000 plus people. It's a metropolitan city. There's a lot of diversity. I have actually been considered. I considered a job at Cummings before.
Yeah.
And I couldn't leave Indianapolis. To go from Indianapolis with 800,000 to Columbus of
50, 60, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't gonna work out for me. So what kind of things that are happening in Columbus, and what you're putting together your Columbus chamber? Talk about how you attract when the state doesn't help us any, right? State's not helping us. How do you attract those industries?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think the vote on the bias crimes bill hurt us a little more too, because again, when you're when you're a new graduate out of college and you got a shiny new degree, and in this economy you can pick anywhere in the country you want to go.
Anywhere.
You don't want to give them any reason not to pick your place, right? And so that one hurt us, I think. But
plus we don't educate our young.
Yeah.
So there's two. We treat people who ain't white, male, Protestant, straight, pretty crappy, and then we're not educating our youth. This is getting better. Quality of life, y'all.
But I think the other thing that young graduates look for is, you mentioned you didn't really want to leave the more urban setting in Indianapolis to move to the more suburban setting of Columbus. And I think that probably resonates with a lot of today's graduates. But Columbus, while it's certainly not as big as Indy's downtown, has a little bit of a downtown.
I love Columbus.
So
it's a beautiful city.
I think there's stuff we can do for trying to add some of that urban feel, where we've got maybe some townhomes or some more condos nearer in downtown Columbus. Because I think graduates today, from what I've been hearing, one of the things they look for is, I don't want to have a half-hour commute where I'm going to go to work. I'd like to be able to walk to work, walk to the grocery store, walk home, walk to the bar, or whatever I'm doing at night, right? So how can we set up that kind of lifestyle for them just in those, that square mile area of downtown Columbus? And I think that'll help bring some of the interest from this next generation of graduates, and hopefully that'll help us with our Cummins problem, because Cummins is coming up here to chase the next generation of graduates that want to live in a place like Indy, and hopefully they can help us with that problem as well.
Literally, I work at the city county building, and I watched the building go up, and I was like, and I, working for government, you ain't making no money, right? And Cummins, some of the jobs are like paying twice as much as I was making. I'm making, and it was like, and like you, I have a graduate degree, and it was like, but I'm gonna stay at the county because I love Deb Jenkins in the surveyor's office. I'm staying. I'm not going. All right, guys. There's a lot of things that you see personally, and I know that your constituents have given you ideas, and you see some of the problems that are happening in the world. But as you think about your campaign, and you think about the things that you personally want to see different, not just what the folks tell you, what you feel in your heart. Talk about some of the things you really want to see to make improvements to your district and in your city.
So I've kind of mentioned this already, but I think one of the things that District 2 deserves is a counselor who wants to serve the entire district.
Okay.
They want to serve every constituent from every community, every corner of this district. And that's what I plan to do.
That's another thing. I've heard that over and over again in multiple places, in multiple counties, that I don't see my councilman. I don't know who he is. I don't know who she is. She doesn't come to anything. Can we count on you to be different?
Absolutely. You know me.
Yeah, there you go.
T-ball, baby, T-ball.
Which I was never very good at.
I'm gonna send you, because I want people to know that you will be different. I want you to know, because I want them to see your passion. I know your passion. I want them to see your passion.
I love Indianapolis.
Okay.
You know that.
I do.
In 2013, when I came to Indy for a job, that's what brought me here in the first place. It was shortly after I came here for that job, I fell in love in Indianapolis.
That's what's up.
And then I fell in love with Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's what's up.
This became my home. And it is and will be my home. And I love it here. And I think this city, District 2, I think it deserves a leader who loves it. Who wants to represent it, who wants to represent every corner of it. And I promise every voter, every volunteer, every donor who is out there watching, listening right now, that I will work my heart out to make sure that that is the case. I have the hard work, the dedication, and the energy to do it. I've already gotten started, and I'm so excited about these next few months until election night, so we can celebrate the result of all the hard work we've done, and then get to work over the next 4 years and beyond.
You see why that's my dude? Do you see why that's my dude? All right, Michael, tell me give me that thing. Give me that thing.
I gotta follow Keith. You can tell he's run before. He nailed that. He absolutely nailed that.
That's all right, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're doing really well.
Well, I mean, he mentioned advocacy before. I would call it representation, right? And as I've talked to all the people I've talked to so far, like I said, knocked on 1,100 doors so far. I've been going all around. People don't know who their city council person is right now. And a lot of them don't feel like they need to. Life's good on the north side of Columbus, right? And I can respect that, but you should know who your representative is. You should know how to get in touch with them. You should know what they're doing for you. You should know that you trust them. And that's what I want to bring to District 4 in Columbus this time around, and the Columbus City Council.
All right. Look, turn left, listeners. These are seats that we can flip in council, whether you're in Columbus or you're in Indianapolis. These are seats that we can flip. We cannot take for granted what's happening at all levels. All right, Michael, tell people where they can find you. And tell them about your fundraisers, when you're knocking doors, all that good stuff.
Well, I'm knocking doors all the time. So if you live on the north side of Columbus, I will find you. But go to facebook.com/elect Michael Schoumacher. Follow the campaign. We'll post something soon about there it is right there. We'll post something soon about the different donation options. Tell your friends about it. Get out and vote on November 5th. Early voting starts October 8th.
Look at you.
Here we go. We can win this, and we absolutely are going to work hard enough. Like I said, I'm going to knock on every door. I'm trying to do it twice.
All right.
So
make sure you find him and donate to this campaign. Become a volunteer. You have volunteer sign-ups on your Facebook page?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Find him, help him out. He needs your help. He can't do it by himself. It's got to be all of us. All right, tell people where they can find you.
So you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three. The handle is KP4Indy, the number 4, KP4Indy, and you can go to kp4indy.com. You can go there on your phone, you can go there on your computer, and the first thing you'll see is a bright blue button that says donate.
I love it.
And you click that button, you contribute just $5, $10, whatever you've got. It will help us to get the much needed resources that we need in order to propel this campaign forward. The supplies for our volunteers don't just come for free. We need those much needed funds. If we want to reach folks at their mailbox, if we want to reach them at their door, we need help. And whether that's you knocking on doors, chipping in $10, or showing up to one of our events. We've got fundraisers. If you go to the KP for Indy Facebook page, you'll see our fundraiser that's coming up a week from tonight. I actually think it'd be a week from right this moment.
Okay. I don't know why y'all be having y'all's fundraisers on the night the turn left is. I mean, y'all know I got this show, but y'all don't want me at your fundraisers? I'm teasing. Alex Burton from Evansville is having a fundraiser right now, and then I'm like, you didn't want me to come, did you? I'm beginning to think it's a conspiracy. Who's Your Women Forward had their event last Thursday. Y'all don't like Indiana Zone no more? No, just kidding.
There's only so many nights in a week.
Why? Don't y'all work them all like I do? All right, guys. Now you know where to find them. I've tagged them on this Facebook Live feed, so you can make sure you get to their page. Help them out. Donate your time. Even if you want to, make phone calls, you want to host house parties, knock on doors. There's something for everyone to do. He might even need you to help. They might need you to help enter information into the van. So what you have, whatever you can do to help these two candidates out, we would love for you to do that. Reach out to them, fall in love with them like I have, because it takes all of us to get people elected at all levels. And we're building a bench, right? We're building a bench all across our state so we can flip some seats in that supermajority that can't do nothing right. I'm telling you, listen, we got a governor. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna end on a high note. Indiana's all day to black, turn left. So last weekend was an amazing, amazing weekend. I don't care who your guy is for 2020. I really don't care. I don't have a guy for 2020 because it'll probably be a girl anyway. But I'm just saying, shouts out to campaign Eric Swalwell and the Bartholomew County Democrats for representing. Yep. And listen, we know that he married into Indiana, and we have made him an honorary Hoosier. But Eric Swalwell, he didn't come to Indiana to decide I'm gonna sit back and chill with the family. He said, no, I'm gonna get out here, and if they don't have a primary until 12 months from now. But I'm gonna talk to the community. I'm gonna take questions. So shout out to Eric Swalwell. Yes, I'm keeping my signs up. I love one of them that says, be bold. I love it. And that's who we need to be as Democrats. We need to be bold in talking about who we are and what we do and what our policies stand for. It was an absolute amazing experience. I couldn't come down. I couldn't control my emotions. I was like...
He did a fantastic job. Unfortunately, Keith and I had to follow him on your show this week.
No. You guys did great, actually. No, y'all good. So thank you, but I want to give it up to Bartholomew County Democrats because they filled the room. There was almost 300 people in that town hall. That is a great turnout for 300 people from a town of less than 50,000. So, and people came from all over. So, and it was a wonderful experience for me. I don't take for granted what I get to do. I do not take for granted the joy in life that I get to be the chick with the big mouth for our party. I'm telling you, I'm on cloud nine. I'm using what I have to get the message out about who we are as Democrats. You don't have to be like me. You have your own skill set. But I'm using mine to better our party. And y'all, we don't have to find unity. We don't have to all link arms and do kumbaya, but let's find common ground. And I will say it again, common ground just means that we are just willing to walk in the same direction. We don't have to have the same desired outcomes. Let's just kind of get to where we're trying to get to. And then once we win seats, then we can take over and make some real changes and make sure we don't overturn Roe v. Wade, and we can make sure public education is properly funded and we're protecting our environment once we win. But until we win, we can't do nothing. So get on your thing, do your thing. Indiana's on there. Like, thank you fellas so much for coming on the show. You guys were flat awesome tonight. I loved it. I love that you projected. I didn't have to tell y'all. Y'all was good. Thank you